Alright, welcome back to a brand new video of the Target Individual Programs, Cognitive Experience. I don't know if you guys can hear the sirens, but it's very, very low. And the reason why they're using the sirens now, because yesterday not yesterday, but early this, was it yesterday? When did I upload the videos? When I got in the house. So yesterday, after I got back in the house, I uploaded this video. Not yesterday, I'm sorry, today. But around what time did I go to sleep? I fell asleep. It was after 11 o'clock. I finished eating. I'm not sure if it was after 12 or whatever. But either yesterday or early today, like after 12 o'clock today. So I uploaded these videos, not today, to 12 a.m. I should say. Not 12 p.m., but 12 a.m. I uploaded some videos. Now, the video should have been uploaded, right? Already, like they normally do. But what they did is that they prevented this video from being uploaded. All right? Until I started to upload the videos that I did this morning coming over here. So why is that? Why is it that they will not allow this specific video to be uploaded? Except that it took hours. I literally mean hours for this video to upload. And just to prove it to you guys. Okay? So I uploaded all these videos, right? So the one that should say this video is ready to watch, it should be the video that the last video I uploaded today. Okay? But if I scroll down, again, I want you to see 2605. If I scroll down, where we at here? Okay, so I want you to look at the thumbnail. You can see it's at night. Okay, it's at night. See, these are the videos uploaded when 13 hours ago. I should tell you, 17 hours ago. All right. So why is it that this video, and let's click on it. Oh, so the New York Predator Department finally left, and then the ambulances showed up making a whole bunch of noise. So this was this was after I came, after my daughter and I, after her jiu-jitsu class had ended, which was around 6:45, something like that, and now this video just uploaded. Now it uploaded. See, when I talk about how they use cognitive warfare, and if you go and you read about cognitive warfare, matter of fact, let's do that right now. I'm going to show you guys exactly how they engage in cognitive warfare against me. Right? By giving you a proper understanding. All right? And like I said, I don't just say these things, but I'll point you to the documents, to the sources, to the research, that what they've been doing. Okay? And I'm proving exactly what it is that they're doing. Okay? And they've been doing this to me for decades. They've been doing this to my brother for well over 3 decades. Me, 2.5 decades. My brother, probably 4 decades. There are others who they've been doing this to for, 4, 5, 6 decades. Okay? Hold on a sec. All right, so let's look at cognitive warfare. All right, and this is the AI overview. Okay, and I'm going to go through a reference document so that you guys understand, because the AI will give you a general explanation and so you can have a general understanding of what cognitive warfare is. Okay, all right, so cognitive warfare uses technology and psychological tactics to influence the attitudes and behavior of individuals and groups, essentially fighting the battle of the mind to achieve strategic goal without physical force. But we know that's not true, because as TIs, they use physical force. Not only do they use physical force, but they use technology, classified technology such as BCI, way more advanced than what they want you and I to believe. All right. Also, covert drugging, honey trapping, in order to have some leverage that if the victims of their crime come forward to speak out about it, then they can try to remove them from the society. Okay, by again false accusations or what have you. Okay, so it goes beyond traditional information warfare by aiming to corrupt thought processes and degrade rationality, using methods like propaganda, disinformation, social media manipulation, and leveraging cognitive bias to undermine trust and alter decision making. As I said, the word trust, New York Police Department using their sirens. Okay. Key aspect of cognitive warfare. The goal is to what? To gain an advantage by influencing, protecting, should be projecting, or disrupting the cognitive of adversaries at the individual, group, or population level. Okay, talk about this. All right. Methods. Uses a range of psychological and technological tools, including targeted propaganda and disinformation campaign, social media manipulation, exploitation of cognitive biases such as anchoring bias and belief prevalence basis. Bias. Okay. As they say here, they use the car horn. All right. The use of data analytics and algorithm-based strategies. Impact can be used to achieve political, military, or economic objective by subverting democratic processes. Again, this is what the CIA have been doing in nations outside of the United States and within the United States itself. Right? Claiming to be about democracy while secretly overthrowing democratic nations. All right? Damaging confidence and institutions. Oh, here in the New York Fecal Department. Here the fire trucks, very, very low. Right? All that car horn you hear that's honking right there, I tell you that they're listening to what I'm saying right now. Okay? Weakening states from within. Gray zone conflict. It often operates in the gray zone. Right? And again, I talk about how to use color, psychological color warfare. There's always multiple meaning to these things and what it is that they do. This is why they use certain terminology, particularly with colors, right? And you got to ask yourself, why is that? What is the thought or the emotional idea of manipulation when it comes to using those terms, right? So the gray zone, where its non-violent nature can evade the traditional laws of war, which focus on physical force. Example, again, I was trying to blame Russia, right? But the United States is the first one to engage in such behaviors. The CIA, and a lot of it without the knowledge of Congress, even though you may have some men and women within Congress and the Senate who knows what it is that's going on, but, plausible deniability. We hear that term all the time. Okay, it's not just in the movies now, all right? Okay, so example, I would say the U.S. use of social media and public operation to influence international opinion regarding conflict in other nations. I'm not going to say the Ukraine is a common example of National Defense University. And the reason why I put the U.S. in there instead of reading out Russia, you guys can read it yourself, is because, again, when you look at what the U.S. and NATO has been doing, okay, and I always say, if Russia was to give South American nations ballistic missiles, the United States would be against that. But yet, those in position of power and authority believe that they can encroach on Russia's sovereignty, right? Encroach on Russia's sovereignty, and also moving or trying to get the nations surrounding Russia to join NATO. Now, that's a provocation, right? That's a provocation. That shows that NATO, the West, NATO, United States, want to invade Russia one day. So Russia has every right to defend its own sovereignty and also to protect itself from NATO aggression. Because Russia is not the one that's been arming nations around, other NATO countries with ballistic weapons and stuff like that. And Vladimir Putin went to NATO. See how many of you don't even know this. That's why I listen to people like Scott Ritter, Jeffrey Sachs, those who work within the United States government, work within the State Department. Vladimir Putin, when he became Russian president, he went to NATO, and he said he wanted to join NATO or have some type of alliance and partnership with NATO. And they said no, because you know why? Because the West, particularly those corrupt people here in the United States, the warmongers, the private military contractors, they have to create enemies. Okay, so there's a book by retired CIA officer or agent, whatever you want to call him. He wrote a book and it's called "In Search of Our Enemies." Right, meaning that the United States create enemies abroad to scare the American public to supporting their warmongering ways. The sirens. That's right. I'm gonna keep speaking the truth. Okay? Because if you really want peace, why would you do that? Like I said, if we in the United States feel that our government feel that they can do that, then what's stopping Russia or China from saying, you know what, we're going to partner with countries, Mexico, what have you, and we're going to arm them to the teeth with ballistic missiles that can penetrate deep into the United States? We would not have that. So why do it to Russia? Particularly when Russia has not been aggressive towards the United States. Right? And remember too, that's why, let me tell you something. They can say whatever they want about China. But China, the leadership in China, which China has good leadership now, what they did is that they saw the West. They saw how greedy the West is. They saw how the capitalists love profits and money. And so you know what they did? They said, you know what? We're going to manipulate them. This is what Russia says, all right? We're going to manipulate these Western companies. We're going to have them come here, build their factories. They're going to train our employees. We're going to train our citizens to become now the most technically advanced skilled workers in the world. And within 3 decades, China went from literally, which no one would even talk about, to becoming what? Soon to become the world's most powerful nation. And they use it by what? Manipulating Western capitalists, the Western elites, into abandoning the American workers. Okay, so when I say, when you hear these politicians trying to blame China, no, the American people have to wake up and understand who their true enemies are. It's not Russia, it's not China. It is the greedy capitalists. It is the greedy, private military contractors, right? When they talk about how Russia, not Russia, but how China is embedding spyware within, within the motherboards being built and made in China, but the United States did it first to China and Russia. We do these things first, and then when it's being done back to us, what happens? What happens? Then we blame China, we blame Russia, and the American public fall for it. Go read the history of the CIA. Go read In Search of Our Enemies. Right? Go read. Even Cash Patel had a book called American Gangsters. Okay. And even though I haven't read his book, right? But if you, like I said, if you go and read the book I was talking about called "Drugs as a Weapon Against Us," and you'll see who created the drug cartels, who created the instability in South America. All right, yeah, the sirens. That's right. I have to tell you how pervasive they are in illegal surveillance of me. The noise campaign that they engage in. Like I said, when I sue these motherfuckers, I'm suing their ass for the $932 trillion, $932 billion, $932 million, $932,000, $932.32. That's the amount I'm suing them for. Not less, might be more. Okay? So, how to respond? This is, you see, the NATO is so concerned about cognitive warfare. Why they don't teach it to the countries that are in NATO, to the population? No, because they don't want you and I to understand what cognitive warfare is, because then what? Then our politicians, our government can no longer manipulate us. Okay? So how to respond, be practical and teach critical thinking skills to help individuals be more discerning about information they consume. They will never do that because this is what our own country is doing this to us. All right? Be selective. Be mindful of the technology used and how data is collected, as this data can be used to influence you. Okay? So that's the deep dive. All right? So let's go right here. From NATO, again, like I said, I'm going to show you guys through their own website, their own documents, their own articles, that they are so concerned about cognitive warfare. So why isn't the news cycle talking about this? Right? If it's so dangerous that NATO is so concerned about us being influenced by other so-called enemy states, why are they not teaching it to the American public? Why are they not teaching it to the people of the West? Because they don't want to. Because this is how they've been using it on us. Our own nations, our own countries have been using it on us. Okay? Norfolk, Virginia. Cognitive warfare is not the means by which we fight. It is the fight itself. The brain is both the target and the weapon in the fight for cognitive superiority. Contestants in this environment comprise deliberate, synchronized military and non-military activities throughout the continuum of competition designed to gain, maintain, and protect cognitive advantage. Cognitive warfare focuses on attacking and degrading rationality, which can lead to exploitation and vulnerabilities and system weakening. And you see, the sad part about it is that these Dans, these dumbass Negropeans, these so-called dumbass Negropean Christians, who think that because you and I, who don't believe in their religion anymore, or never don't believe in their religion, that they are used. They themselves are radicalized, right, to engage in such behavior. And like I said, they talk about the devil being the deceiver and the liar and the manipulator. But when I look at the Dans, that's who I see them as, the devils also. So not only you have the white racist devils, but you have the dumbass Negropean devils. And it's funny because they don't think about that, right? They'll say, oh, the devil is a liar. But then they lie. The devil is a deceiver, but then they deceive. The devil is a manipulator, but then they manipulate. That they can't even see their contradiction. That's why I said, I will keep calling them Dans until they prove me wrong. Right? Which they're not going to do. Because in order to prove me wrong, they have to come into a conscious awakening and realize that what they believe, who they believe in, is actually the devil. The so-called devil in their Bible. Okay? All right, so however, it becomes increasingly complex as non-military targets are involved. For example, Russians, and the only time I'm going to say Russian here, Russian social media and public information operations targeted much of the international community in an attempt to label Ukraine as being at fault. Though a combination of communication technology, fake news stories, and where is that here? Here. In an attempt to label Ukraine as being at fault through a combination of communication technologies, fake news, stories, and perception manipulation, Russia aims to influence public opinion as well as decay public trust towards open information source. That is not true, because what do we see now here in the United States? Not only now, but I can remember before 2015, right? TIs who had a platform on TalkShoe. We were doing our podcast on TalkShoe, right? That when we noticed that more and more journalists are coming into our podcast, then what did they do, right? All of a sudden, TalkShoe got bought by somebody, don't know who, and then they started deleting our shows prior to 2015. During that time, right, maybe a little bit after, we started to hear about American diplomats being hit with sonic weapons. then the State Department, U.S. government denying it. And I'm like, how could they deny it? Right? Because during my research, when I found out that in the 1960s, the Russian was radiating the American embassy, and the U.S. picked up on doing a bug sweep, picked up on the signal, and guess what they did? They did not want their diplomats. They kept it a secret for over a decade. Again, you guys can go and find that information, right? So, again, the mindset of the people within our government, and the mindset doesn't change. What happens is that they will always select people who have that sort of mindset, right? To keep you and I in the dark, to experiment on us, particularly for black people. Like I keep saying, you want to see an example of cognitive warfare, how well it has worked in terms of manipulating a large population of people. Look within the black community, look within black people. You'll see clear evidence of cognitive warfare being waged on us. And because the vast majority of us do not have an idea what these things are. And when you don't know, right? So, all right, so these narratives have extensive reach and often involve both offensive and defensive posturing. All right, so China, as a strategic competitor of NATO, described cognitive warfare as the use of public opinion, psychological operation, and legal influence to achieve victory. Combat psychology has significant impact on the warfighter's ability to function. Intelligent psychological monitoring system, a recent smart sensor bracelet developed by China, focused on recording facial information, emotional changes, and psychological state of soldier to determine their combat status. You don't think that's what they do to us? If you listen to targeted individual, we talk about the exact same thing. When I talk about my emotional manipulation and how when I get upset because they're targeting me so much, what it is that they do, all of a sudden now, people attitudes around me become much more friendly. Become much more friendly, right? Because it is to manipulate us. It is to learn how to manipulate people, how to play with their emotions, how to change their emotions, and then how to do what? Subdue their emotions. Okay? Aside of the battlefield, influence can also affect law, rule of order, and civil construct. This inclusion of lawfare and the targeting of broader community sentiment has significant impact, since so many civilians and non-combatants are potentially exposed. When I talk about the degradation within the society, this is what I talk about. And again, you can go look at, I have over 7,000 videos on YouTube, right? The reason why I have these videos is that because when I started to say, you know what, I need to research this, those videos help me. Those videos will help you, right? So you to understand, for you to see how psychological manipulation works, because you can't see it consciously, and it embeds itself within your subconscious mind. They know. They know. You and I don't. Well, I know now, but most people don't. Okay, so let's go back here and let me pause this. All right, so here's an article you can find. This is from the Minnesota Law, right? This is an article, Minnesota School of Law, and it talks about cognitive warfare and young black males in America. Okay? Journal of Gender, Race, and Justice. And that's 2012. Now, NATO started talking about cognitive warfare, right, in 2020. So 8 years before, right? Even I can go back to the 1990s. But I just wanted to show you guys this, right? And what is the title? What is the title? Cognitive warfare. I just showed you an article from on NATO own website that talks about cognitive warfare, and that article was from 2024. Okay. But here you see cognitive warfare on black males in America. Let me just read the abstract. The result was a variable feedback loop whose cognitive output, the mental imprint of morally impoverished super predators, 14 continually fed its input. And the 14, I guess that might be the I forget what you call it. All right. Even as crime rates amongst black youth have dropped steadily. Actually, you know what? Let me open up the article. Hold on a second. All right, so I had to open up the PDF. All right, I had to open up the PDF. So let's talk about this here. Again, this is from 2012. So from 2012, they've recognized that cognitive warfare has been used on black children, particularly black males, young black males. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. Even prior from the 1990s. Let's talk about this because again, you know, like I said, I will be one of the instruments used to take them down. They're going to use we're going to use technology to bring them down. No, I'm going to use technologies to bring y'all motherfuckers down. Right? Because the ignorance of Negropeans, right, it is a detriment to themselves, to us as a group of people, and to our children and each other. Okay? So again, during the 1990s, deep into America's war on crime and drugs, an inclusion commenced against a target that had, to that point, remained largely outside the crosshairs, prompted by rising crime rates and a handful of high-profile incidents. Politicians, the media, and much of the public consumed by what they characterize as the looming threat. Right now, I want you to understand the media, how the media portrays black people while ignoring white criminality. And we know that white people commit more crimes in America than black people. Right? We know that white people are on more government welfare than any other group of people combined. But yet they keep focusing on black people. Because like I've always said, we are the victims of cognitive warfare and much more. But we have been conditioned, and they use the churches to ignore the truth and the reality and to continue with the same talking point. And I brought that on because what you saw first was the Central Park 5 with newspaper heading that says monsters, showing 5 little black boys and putting the word monsters. Right? But no one called the detective monsters for torturing these children. Because that's what they did. They tortured these children to have them confess, a signed confession of a crime that they did not commit. So how the fuck you gonna tell me that people cannot be coerced and manipulated into confessing crimes they didn't commit? Come on, dumbass Negropeans. Prove me wrong, Dans. Prove me wrong. Because you can't. Okay? So, and much of the public became consumed by what they characterized as a looming threat. What made this target distinct was that it belongs to a cohort traditionally shielded from public scorn by both law and custom. The target was a subset of America's own children. Waged in race-neutral terms, this war's racially connotation were unmistakably the most violent, the most adult-like, and the most immoral of adolescents were young black males. This incursion bore many of the classic features of other modern American societal wars, rhetorical access, political extremism, graphic media, punitive policies, and perhaps most critically, the casting of the enemy as a moral reprobate. To this end, the image of the adolescent super predator, a term a Princeton professor coined in 1995. So again, you motherfuckers, dumbass Negropeans, right? When I talk about how these white racist liberals, how they're creating a lot of these policies, we want to blame the conservative. See, the conservative, they're not hiding their racism. I'm talking about the white conservatives. They're not hiding their racism. We know that they're racist. And as Malcolm X says, it is the white liberal elites that is the most dangerous, because they will talk nice to you while stabbing you in the back, while the other white liberal racists stabbing you in the back. They talk nice to you, hypnotizing you, so that you don't realize you got a knife in your back. Okay? This is what they do. And black people, we love nice racism. We don't like that upfront stuff, but we like the nice racism. We like when our children are being poisoned with lead in the schools. We like when we are being poisoned with lead in public housing, in private apartment buildings. Right? We love it that, that the water was good enough for us to drink, but as soon as white people start to gentrify the community, all of a sudden they change the pipe, so now we get good water to drink, except for that nasty shit we used to drink before, because we've been used to it. But when white people move in, that water is not clean enough for them. So yeah, we get that advantage. But guess what? If you've been living in that community for how many decades, they've already poisoned your ass with lead, and you don't even realize it, dumbasses. Yeah, okay? And y'all can get upset, because I don't really care. My purpose is greater than y'all. Y'all can come with your Jesus, come with your God, your Christ, Negropeans, because that Jesus, that Christ ain't doing shit for you, except to keep you in la-la land, daydreaming, right? While $124 trillion in the year 2043 will be transferred to younger white people. What are you doing what kind of wealth you transferring to younger black people? Right? While you're in the churches hooping and hollering and this and that and this and that, and your pastors are the ones who are making out like a bandit. Dumbasses. Okay? So yeah. And I want you to understand the mindset of Negropeans. The destructive mindset. That they will side with white racists, white supremacists, as opposed to siding with a black person who's telling them the truth. Because we don't want to hear the truth. Well, I'm going to give you the truth. Okay? So let's go. All right? To this end, the image of the adolescent super predator, a term a Princeton professor coined in 1995, was a particular salient symbol. Okay? So again, let's understand what they've been doing. Microchipping our young people to manipulate them. Even before the microchipping occur, they've waged cognitive warfare against us. Right? And because, again, this is something that you don't see when it's being done. But the effects is there. All right? So, download this article, read it. Also want to show you guys something else. All right, so I want you guys to go and download this this article. It's called Cognitive Warfare, right? Evero Pastor. Now, let's read this. Military powers have consolidated in the last 2 decades a way to erase the boundaries between peacetime and crisis and wage a continuous war. Cognitive warfare has been proposed as the most advanced form to date of manipulation of behavior at mass scale to obtain strategic advantage. Instead of a corpse-ridden battlefield of kinetic warfare, the theater of operation of cognitive warfare is the human mind. And therein, operations are realized on the field of perception, emotions, and memory. The goal is not termination, but permanent control and exploitation. This opinion article reviews methods of cognitive warfare focus on the human factor that may be manipulated not to merely control what population thinks and how they think, and thus how they act. It is argued that the weaponization of science of brain and behavior combined with a distributed computing technological milieu can be utilized in cognitive warfare to fine-tune societal and subject level factors, rendering not only all opposition infertile, but the very fact of being oppressed desirable. Okay? So I just wanted to read that part right there because it's very, very interesting when I talk about these things. We STIs talk about these things, that we are the distraction, while the vast majority within the population are also being targeted by our own government, right? By those within positions of authority. In order to do what? To build an alliance. To build what? To build a cult-like population, which will do the bidding of those within positions of authority, whether it be the churches, whether it be those within predator law enforcement, whether it be between corporations or what have you, whether within the government. We as TIs, not only technology being used on us, microchipping, weaponization of the electromagnetic spectrum, radio wave, microwave frequency for what? For mind control, to manipulate our emotions also, right? Surveillance technology, right? So I keep telling y'all, I am not a sheep, never was. The attack on our bloodlines, depending on, like I said, who you are as an individual, that you wouldn't even know. If they can separate you from your bloodline, or if they can eliminate your bloodline, because they, through our DNA, understand and know who our ancestors are, and to get rid of those genetic traits, those ancestors within us, that lives within us, from ever re-emerging. So when I talk about how Africans understood the concept of reincarnation, they didn't look at it as being, reincarnated into something else, but understanding that they are within the next generation of people, right? We may not be here physically when we die, but when we have children, we are still alive within them, right? Understand how Africans think, what they knew, not what they believe, because the Africans didn't believe anything. They knew, right? They may come up with concept of the afterlife and what happens during the afterlife, right? But it isn't something that they believe. It is something that they observe, right? And creating new science to explain these things, right? This is where the concept of science comes from, concept of genetic research comes from. Understand these things. The concept of what these so-called Western people call religion, right? But unless you understand who the Africans were, their mindset, what they thought, we're going to keep on believing what those who are in positions of power, who wants to re-enslave us, wants us to believe. We're going to believe that. Like I said, I want to know. I don't want to believe shit. So they got us believing stuff, thinking that it's perfectly fine to believe, that we use the word belief in every damn sentence because we're the fools. I don't believe in myself. I know myself. I don't believe in you, black man, black woman. I know who you are. And black child, I know who you are. So let's stop saying the word belief when it comes to certain contexts and use the word know. I know. I think. All right? Talk to you guys in the next video.